Now, last Thursday was August the 1st, a date that probably passed most of us by without a second thought. But it shouldn't have, for on that day in 1838, nearly 1 million enslaved Africans won their freedom as the British Emancipation Act finally came into force. Since then, African activists have recognised August the 1st as Emancipation Day. And to mark the 175th anniversary of that date, here in London, the Windrush Foundation has just launched Making Freedom at the Marcus Garvey Library in Tottenham. Carol Dixon was one of the brains behind it. Tell us more about it.
Well, Making Freedom is a Heritage Lottery-funded exhibition project which was initiated by our director, Arthur Torrington, CBE. And he really wanted to, rather than focus on the story of 1948 and the Windrush pioneers, actually trace our relationship with Britain much further back, several hundred years, to embrace the emancipation story. In the UK, a lot of emphasis has always been placed on the British parliamentary dates of 1807 and 1833. And what Arthur wanted to do in this particular exhibition narrative was to talk about the struggles for independence, the struggles for emancipation that actually happened on Caribbean soil. And it was the fight and the endeavour and the struggle of enslaved Africans from as early as the Haitian Revolution in 1791, right through to the Sam Sharpe Rebellion in Jamaica in 1831-32. These were the catalysts for emancipation, working in concert with the British parliamentary abolitionists on UK soil. So that story, which has not often been told, is something that we wanted to represent in this exhibition.
So what did that shift of emphasis mean for the images you chose for the exhibition and the people that you hailed up as heroes and heroines of that fight?
Well, what it symbolises, we wanted to use as our departure point 1791 so that we could start off with the Haitian Revolution and the work of Toussaint Louverture in leading that rebellion, the most successful enslaved African revolt in Caribbean history. And so we wanted to use that as the point of departure for talking about the other revolts, rebellions and resistance movements that it triggered. So, for example, we include on some of our panels the story of Busser's Rebellion in 1816 in Barbados. We talk about the Demerara Rebellion in 1823 led by Kwame Nkrumah and Jack Gladstone. And then we also particularly culminate in the 1831-32 Baptist Rebellion led by the Baptist deacon Sam Sharpe. So these key figures are the ones that will feature prominently, both textually and visually, in the exhibition narrative and also on the website that accompanies the exhibition.
And tell us about some of the pictures, the kinds of poses. I'm just looking at what you have on your lap there. Yeah, that's right, Making Freedom. And that's a picture of what looks like a sister of the 19th century holding up her right hand saying, what? Freedom now!
Yeah, absolutely. And this was designed by our graphic designer Mervyn Weir of Caribbean Heritage himself. And we wanted to show that, you know, emancipation is never ever achieved just by simple acts of benevolence. It's something that is fought for, and that fight can be extremely violent, extremely traumatic, and it can cost thousands and thousands of lives. So what we wanted to show in this particular title image was that the rebellion, led by men and women, because there were a number of women pioneers in this struggle, is something that we have to celebrate. We have to celebrate the resilience of Caribbean people, formerly enslaved Africans in the Caribbean region, and what they did to determine their own future. So that's why the image is so important.
And this is on at the Marcus Garvey Library, of course, a great name, great title, great place. And I presume the appeal is to what African and Caribbean descendants here in Britain. Are these the people that you are most concerned about? Because there are massive gaps in people's knowledge in this country, aren't there?
We're very concerned about that, yes. We wanted this to be an education programme, not just in the form of an exhibition, but we also developed some learning resources for schools so that we pitched in and tapped into the national curriculum so that young people particularly could learn about our Caribbean heritage, our proud Caribbean heritage, a heritage of resistance, rebellion and revolution and success. And it also talks about the legacies after emancipation, so what happened in the Caribbean after 1838.
Yes.
And the other thing to say about this particular exhibition is it's only part of the story. In this section at the Marcus Garvey Library, we're talking about 1791 up to 1838, but we will also be having a second phase of the narrative, which will be displayed at the Royal Geographical Society from November this year, which will deal with the legacies of emancipation, looking at our Caribbean hybrid identities and the cultural achievements, of the social and political achievements that have come out of the emancipation period.
And I suppose also what happened to the African Caribbean family as a result of all this.
Yes, and female narratives are particularly strong in this exhibition. A lot of the work has involved a lot of research of Caribbean literature and narrative non-fiction to find female stories of emancipation. And in this exhibition, we celebrate a book called To Shoot Hard Labour by Samuel Smith about the life of an Antiguan labourer. And he talks about his great-great-grandmother who was emancipated in 1838 and the experience that she, Rachel, went through to reconnect her family. And she went to the various plantations after emancipation to find her daughter. And she found her 3 days later after Emancipation Day and brought her home. So it's that kind of narrative, female-led narrative about the passive resistances as well as the active on-street resistances that we wanted to tell.